Good evening and welcome to Hairenik Media News Broadcast. I'm your host Ani Zargarian, bringing you this week's top stories. Congressional leaders joined Armenian Americans on April 2nd for the annual Capitol Hill observance of the Armenian Genocide, issuing bipartisan calls for Azerbaijan's immediate release of Armenian prisoners, the right of return for displaced Artsakh Armenians, and U.S. sanctions on Azerbaijan and Turkey for war crimes and genocidal ethnic cleansing. The event, titled Reversing the 2023 Artsakh Genocide, Remembering the 1915 to 1923 Armenian Genocide, featured powerful testimonies and policy demands to hold Turkey and Azerbaijan accountable for their genocidal crimes against the Armenian nation. ANCA Chairman George Aljayan shared personal reflections on genocide survival and the continued struggles of Armenians, emphasizing that the crime did not end in 1915. It continues today, adding that what Armenians have always wanted is to live in peace, but that peace must be just and it must be durable. As Armenian Americans, we demand action, Aljayan concluded. Several U.S. Senate and House members shared remarks and offered support, including Senators Cory Booker, Andy Kim, Ed Markey, and Adam Schiff, Congressional Armenian Caucus founding co-chair Frank Pallone, and Vice Chair Brad Sherman, and Representatives Gabe Amo, Herb Conaway, Jim Costa, Laura Friedman, George Latimer, and Jim McGovern. On April 1st and 2nd, the ANCA Eastern Region hosted its spring iteration of Advocacy Days in Washington, D.C., bringing together a record number of dedicated advocates from across the eastern United States. These participants engaged in over 100 meetings with members of Congress and their staff, effectively representing 23 local Armenian national committees and constituencies from the region. The Advocacy Days were marked by the enthusiastic involvement of growing youth advocates from Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Maine, New Jersey, New York, Virginia, Illinois, Michigan, Missouri, Louisiana, Connecticut, North Carolina, Florida, and beyond, reflecting a growing commitment among younger generations to advancing Armenian American priorities on Capitol Hill. During these meetings, ANC advocates stressed the importance of urging the administration to impose global Magnitsky sanctions to hold Azerbaijani officials accountable for their war crimes, increasing pressure on the Aliyev regime to immediately release unlawfully detained Armenian POWs, civilian captives, and Artsakh officials, and advocating for greater investment in genocide education and prevention. The newly elected Armenian Revolutionary Federation Eastern U.S. Central Committee Chairwoman Ani Chaglasyan and Central Committee member Garo Tashyan visited His Eminence Archbishop Anushavan Danielyan, the Eastern Prelate, on Friday at the Prelacy in New York. During the meeting, meaningful discussions were held about the current status of communities in the Eastern region, initiatives to engage youth, and the challenges facing Armenians both in the homeland and the diaspora. His Eminence commended the collaborative spirit of the Central Committee and affiliated organizations, emphasizing the need for initiatives to strengthen community ties in the region and support the development of the homeland and the Middle Eastern communities. Congresswoman Dina Titus, joined by Representatives Gus Bilirakis, Ted Liu, and David Valadeo, introduced the Armenian Genocide Education Act, a bipartisan initiative directing the Library of Congress to implement a nationwide education program about the genocide committed by the Ottoman Turkish government from 1915 to 1923 against Armenians, Assyrians, Greeks, Syriacs, Arameans, Maronites, and other Christians. The bill would authorize $10 million over 5 years to support the development and dissemination of educational materials, teacher training, online resources, and curriculum integration to teach students across the U.S. about the causes, consequences, and enduring lessons of this unpunished crime against humanity. ANCA Executive Director Adam Hamparian welcomed the reintroduction of the Armenian Genocide Education Act, emphasizing that as we solemnly remember the Armenian Genocide of 1915 and tirelessly work to reverse the Artsakh Genocide of 2023, we stand with Armenians worldwide in thanking Congresswoman Titus for her leadership in spearheading this act and in expressing our appreciation to Representatives Bilirakis, Liu, and Valadeo for joining with her in this bipartisan genocide education and prevention initiative. The European Parliament held a plenary session commemorating the 110th anniversary of the Armenian genocide, drawing attention to the forced deportation of ethnic Armenians from Artsakh. Several members of the European Parliament drew stark parallels between the historical tragedy and the recent forced displacement of ethnic Armenians from Nagorno-Karabakh. MEPs called for recognition by Turkey and Azerbaijan as a crucial step towards reconciliation and strongly criticized the European Union's continued engagement and cooperation with Azerbaijan despite its actions. Speakers stressed that recognition and reconciliation require courage to confront the past and build the future on historical truth, adding that genocide denial should not be tolerated. The European legislators reaffirmed that the ethnic cleansing in Artsakh is unacceptable and called on the EU to adopt a principled foreign policy that prioritizes human rights and international law over economic interests. The European Armenian Federation for Justice and Democracy, EAFJD, expressed its gratitude towards the MEPs who honor the memory of victims of the Armenian genocide and continue to shed light on the struggles of the Armenian people, especially the forcefully displaced Armenians of Artsakh. The Committee on External Relations of the Belgian Chamber of Representatives convened a crucial hearing to deliberate on resolutions concerning Artsakh put forth by the members of Parliament Els van Hoof and Michel de Megde. The hearing featured vital contributions from diplomatic representatives and advocacy leaders, providing the committee with necessary insights on advancing measures to protect the rights of the Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh. Speakers before the committee included Ambassador of the Republic of Armenia, Dikran Balayan, Representative of the Republic of Artsakh in France, Hovannes Gevorkyan, and President of the European Armenian Federation for Justice and Democracy, Kaspar Karampetyan, who emphasized the fundamental right of the people of Artsakh to self-determination and return to their ancestral lands with guarantees of international protection. He also criticized the approach of the Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, who has accepted many concessions, which has emboldened Azerbaijan to increase its demands and escalate tensions. The Belgian Federal Parliament is set to vote on the proposed resolutions at the end of May. During his visit to Yerevan, the German President, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, emphasized that a peace agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan could lead to lasting peace in the South Caucasus. At a joint press conference with Armenian President Vahagan Khachaturian, Steinmeier urged both countries to expedite the signing and implementation of the agreement, highlighting their potential to set a global example. President Khachaturian responded by affirming Armenia's commitment to the agreement, expressing confidence that existing challenges could be overcome. Steinmeier visited the Dzizarnagapet Memorial Complex and paid tribute to the memory of the victims of the Armenian genocide. The German president sparked controversy during his Armenia visit after posting a photo of the Artsakh flag on his official Instagram account, writing, "The conflict concerns the territory of Nagorno-Karabakh. The region legally belongs to Azerbaijan. However, it is predominantly inhabited by Armenians. There have been numerous clashes over the past several decades." Following backlash from Azerbaijan, the post was quickly deleted. Despite the removal, Steinmeier's remarks highlighted Artsakh's Armenian heritage and the region's humanitarian crisis. Following his visit to Yerevan, the German president went to Baku, reaffirming Berlin's position that Karabakh is part of Azerbaijan. During his meeting with Aliyev, Steinmeier expressed hope for a signed peace agreement and urged both sides to seize the opportunity, despite challenges. Aliyev, on the other hand, reiterated Baku's two preconditions for the agreement: amending the Armenian constitution and dissolving the Minsk Group. His Holiness Karikin II Catholicos of all Armenians has directly appealed to German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier ahead of his visit to Baku. During a meeting at the Mother See of Holy Echmiadzin, the Catholicos urged President Steinmeier to address key humanitarian cultural concerns. These included advocating for the just rights of the people of Artsakh, calling for the immediate release of Armenian hostages held by In a related development, Jessica Morden, a UK Parliament member and chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Armenia, along with her vice chairs, has urged the UK government to take action regarding Armenian prisoners in Baku. In their letter, the lawmakers strongly condemned the ongoing detention and trials of the 23 Armenian prisoners and called on UK ministers to pressure Azerbaijan for their release. Meanwhile, in Baku, the trial of Artsakh National Assembly Speaker David Ishkhanyan is ongoing and is widely viewed as a politically motivated show trial. Ishkhanyan, who confirmed his participation in the First Artsakh War under ARF command, has remained a prominent political figure. He detailed his parliamentary outreach efforts to world leaders and defended his previous statements and affiliations. Ishkhanyan also addressed allegations of Armenian aggression, contextualizing them as part of Artsakh's struggle for self-determination. He also highlighted his Armenian citizenship despite having Soviet-era documentation. This trial is part of Azerbaijan's broader persecution campaign against Artsakh's leadership. The Armenian National Committee International has launched a 6-language petition platform aimed at advocating for the immediate release of Armenian hostages held in Azerbaijan. The platform allows users to reach out to senior officials within the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, OSCE, calling for urgent intervention. The petition urges the OSCE to activate its mechanisms to assess the legality of trials, detention conditions, and health status of the Armenian prisoners, as well as to adopt a firm political stance on the matter. Community members are encouraged to participate in the petition drive and stand up for justice and human rights. In Armenia, the Committee for the Protection of the Rights of the People of Artsakh has launched a national mobilization campaign calling for unity among all Armenians. They criticized the government's response to their 5 demands following the March 29 rally, stating that the only response was the formation of expert groups, which they consider inadequate. A tent headquarters has been set up in Yerevan's Freedom Square to coordinate activities, with public consultations continuing until April 15 and mass actions planned. The committee urged all Armenians to stay committed and engaged in the ongoing fight for justice. An Iranian official has announced complications in shipping goods to Russia through Azerbaijan, making Armenia a safer and more favorable alternative route. The statement came during an international conference in Yerevan titled Hike Iran, a millennia-long neighborhood, reinforcing Armenia's strategic importance in regional logistics. The U.S. Export-Import Bank has approved over $339 million in aircraft exports to Azerbaijan's Silkway West Airlines, linked to military transfers between Israel and Azerbaijan, particularly with increased flights from Israel's Ovda airbase in 2024. This approval is part of a broader $350 million export package that supports a Virginia-based titanium parts manufacturer. This decision has raised concerns among Armenian-American organizations and human rights advocates due to the airline's ties to the Azerbaijani government and its alleged role in weapon transport for regional conflicts. It is important to highlight that in January 2025, the Armenian National Committee of America launched a nationwide campaign urging the U.S. to reject financial support for Silkway Airlines, arguing that it would violate U.S. export laws concerning dual-use items, threaten regional peace, contradict American foreign policy given Azerbaijan's human rights abuses, and contribute to genocide, pointing to over 100,000 ethnic Armenians being forcibly displaced from Artsakh in 2023. ANCA emphasized Silkway's involvement in transporting arms used against Armenian civilians and soldiers. Human rights organizations like Freedom House have documented these cases and called for international accountability. April 1-2, 2016 marks the launch of a full-scale Azerbaijani offensive against Artsakh, marked by intense fighting primarily in the areas of Hadrut and Martagerd. Despite sustaining heavy casualties, Armenian forces successfully repelled the assault, inflicting significant losses on Azerbaijani troops and prompting a Russian-mediated ceasefire after just 4 days of conflict. The hostilities resulted in the loss of 93 Armenian lives and left 120 others injured. The attack occurred as then-President Serge Sargsyan was returning from a visit to Boston. Artsakh President-in-exile Samvel Shahramanyan and members of the National Assembly commemorated the anniversary of the 2016 four-day war by visiting the Yerabalur military pantheon to honor the fallen soldiers. The conflict resulted in the loss of 93 Armenian lives in just 4 days. Canada's Foreign Minister Melanie Joly issued a statement in remembrance of the victims, reaffirming Canada's commitment to peace and diplomacy in the region. Azerbaijani forces reportedly shelled the Armenian village of Artsakh in Hairenik province early March 31st, damaging a home but causing no casualties. This comes amid conflicting reports, with Armenia's defense ministry previously denying such incidents. Azerbaijan also claimed Armenia fired first, an allegation firmly denied by Yerevan. In legal news, the Anti-Corruption Court has extended house arrest for Republican Party Vice President Armen Ashotyan for another 3 months. The court granted visitation rights to party members. Ashotyan has been under house arrest since September 2024 after initially being arrested in June of 2023. In post-election developments in the second largest city of Armenia, Gyumri, Our City Alliance leader Martun Grigoryan has declared he will support rival leading opposition candidate Vartan Gugasian for mayor. Gugasian has also gained backing from Mother Armenia and My Strong Community, uniting the opposition to exclude ruling Civil Contract Party from future governance. Former Mayor Gugasian's campaign promises include opposing the opening of the border with Turkey and strengthening ties with Russia. Following elections, the Pashinyan regime initiated a criminal case against Gugasian based on all alleged audio recording. The first meeting of the newly elected Council of Elders will be held in Gyumri on April 16th. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey has officially proclaimed April as Armenian Heritage Month, urging all residents of the Commonwealth to observe the month in a meaningful and respectful manner. The declaration honors the contributions and history of Armenian Americans, including their cultural resilience and community spirit. And finally, March 31st marked the 4th anniversary of the passing of Arkady Der-Tatevosyan, also known as Commandos. A reverend military leader, he remains a symbol of bravery and dedication to Armenia's national cause. Commandos set a lasting example of how one can honorably serve their homeland. That's all for tonight's broadcast. Thank you for joining, and don't forget to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and X. Good night.